we're going to divide by a very large number. So the magnitude of our velocity should also be very high. Like the follow velocity. The follow velocity. The follow velocity is 100 in the y. What is the follow velocity? Current follow velocity. Why is it so low? Like our velocity should be much, much higher than this. These are frame velocities, not fucking actual velocities. Damn it. What we need is not only... we need the time between the frame. Well, so we need to have the position history, we also need to have the frame time history. Divide by the frame time to get the actual velocity. Frame time should be very small. It should be like 0.005, 0.00, or no, just 0.016. So that should get some of this started. Alright, let's see. Just gonna smooth out the velocity, and with that, hopefully this should offset it right back. We had per velocity displacement is what we were using, as opposed to the actual velocity. The per frame displacement, of course, doesn't mean anything unless you know how long that quanta actually was. So that's what we now have calculated. So we should now get our lead position, and we should just be setting it basically right now. We don't have any of our easing, so it'll just kind of warp around, kind of crapping. Like it was before, but this time actually relative to the screen as opposed to relative to motion. Because doing stuff in screen space means we can use the same camera data for something that is much slower and it will still work. And yes, this is what we expect to see. And it just looks freaking awful. As we move around, just this is what is bad. Is it 0.25? It looks like it is 0.25 in screen space. And I'm going to take a very short break here. I'll be right back after about a minute. Alright, well, we're gonna get back in and start working on this. we'll see. I might be heading out here. Need to go shopping sometime today, and it's rolling around 8 p.m. and everything closes at 11. So we will see in just a moment. So basically, what we want to do is we want to apply the same easing effects as we already have on some of our other things. And it looks like, yeah, I'm gonna be heading out here real quick here. So Adam, I'm gonna check all this stuff in. So I'll just configure it real quick so that I've turned on what is finished, and I'm gonna turn off what is not finished. And do you want like a quick rundown of kind of how this is, or should I just do that when it's all finished up and more finalized? Because if you're not going to mess around with it, then we can just talk about it later. As in mess around with it like to right now. Because otherwise it might change stuff, and who knows. Alright, I think that's good, so we'll just save that and get out. Until late tonight. Alright, I'll give you the 2-minute rundown. So the idea right now is we have a camera, and that camera has camera data, and you apply that camera data to the player proxy. So right now, if you went into the gameplay folder, you could go to Byte Player. When you open up Byte Player, you see it's got the Byte Player proxy that determines which character you are. And then there's camera, so there's standard camera right here is what we're using. In standard camera, you can hit the magnifying glass, and you can see it'll take us to that asset. So it's in gameplay camera, and the standard camera asset, if you crack it open, has all these easing variables. The things that are finished are camera follow, camera zoom, and camera direction. There's a global camera speed. The camera cannot move any faster than this, which is 50,000. Right now it's super fast. There's nothing that moves that quick. The camera follow is in screen coordinates. Basically, this is where the camera should position itself just to begin with. Right now it centers the actor in the screen, which is what 000 is. So if nothing else was activated, the camera would just be zoomed in to this character with the character in the middle. And then we've got some follow speed variables, and this is to keep the camera centered on the player, on what it's following itself. If that's caught up, then all these other transformations make sense. Otherwise, they're just there, but they're not doing anything. Camera zoom is how far this thing is zoomed in and out. So there's you can change how fast that zoom can change. And then there's a min and max for that ortho. And right now it's just 4,000 and 6,000. So that basically says that 40 meters is the minimum width and 60 meters is the maximum for 40 and 60. Ortho width velocity ratio is, if you mouse over them, it'll tell you basically what it does. This is the ratio of how fast we're going to how much we zoom. So basically, if we're running at 1 meter per second, we will try to zoom out by that amount. So if we're running at 1 meter per second, then we zoom by 1 meter per second. If we're running at 1 meter per second, we zoom 1 meter out. And Byte runs at 6,000 or something, so 60 meters per second or something. So we're gonna zoom out by enough, or whatever. I don't know. Just play with that to make it zoom more or less, depending upon how fast you're going. And then the delay, acceleration, and fall off are. It's easier to figure out what these values do by just entering giant numbers into them. The zoom width delay is how quickly it'll like realize, oh, I should do something, and then it'll zoom in. So right now it waits 2 seconds before trying to zoom in, and then this is like how quickly it starts to reach its maximum zoom velocity, and then the distance in screen units at which it starts easing into its final spot. So within 500 centimeters, it'll start, 5 meters, it'll start slowing down the zoom. Same thing for camera direction. So the camera direction right now is basically if you're looking right, then the camera will be offset by 0.1. So it'll be offset 10% in the direction you're facing. So if you move the camera, your character actually moves the opposite direction. So 0.1 is actually, you're moving the character back in the camera by 10%. And then the speed and offset delay and acceleration and all that stuff is pretty much all the same. So it's going to be how long before it starts to move and how quickly it reaches its maximum speed. Speed in this one is in screen space speed. So camera direction is in screen space, camera zoom is in screen space, but remember the camera is 4,000 units wide is a real number, and when 1 here is used as an offset speed, that's the size of the screen. So at a size of blah, just basically that's how it has to be. And you've got the delays and acceleration and all that stuff for just easing it in. So play with those numbers. The big ones are the direction offset delays. Yeah, the offset delays are the big ones for making it more or less responsive. And ortho, min, and max are the ones where you'll actually be able to change how far you zoom in. So if I like set this to like 20,000 or something, and run that, as you can see, we can zoom way out. And as you can see, like even though we're zoomed way out, the screen space stuff for our lead based on our facing direction still works properly. So you can, if you want, make another camera data object and swap that into the main player, or you can just edit the one in place. Anyway, I'll just save that, check it in, and I'm out of here. So cool. I will catch all you guys later. Thanks for hanging out.